Hey guys, so if you've been following my channel, you might know that I'm a big fan of the Soundpeats H1s. Now, what's happened is that they've launched the Soundpeats H2s, and that means that I have to check them out. And I'm going to tell you today what I think is the better option, the Soundpeats H1s, which I already love, or the supposedly upgraded H2s, although they do miss a couple of things. I'm going to check out and compare their sound quality, the latency, the mic, the comfort, fit, everything. And in the end, I'm going to tell you which one I prefer. And to be honest, it's a bit of a surprise even for me. So let's go check it out. Now, the first thing we have to do is unbox these babies. And when you do, the first thing you see is this chick with white hair. Then when you open the box, you can see the case. Once we open the case, we see the earbuds themselves. Then we find this little box with the extra ear tips inside. One's large, one's small. The mediums being already fitted onto the earbuds. Then we find the USB-C cable and the manual. And there you go. Now for the look and feel. The first thing we note is the case. Now this is a really slippery, glossy kind of case. It's shaped like a flat pill and it's slightly smaller than the H1s. It has a battery light on the outside, which I actually prefer, instead of the inside battery light indicator, which is in the H1s. Also, these are harder to open because they're so glossy and slippery. You have to really grab it from the bottom and the top. The H1s are much easier. The case has a USB-C cable at the back, but it doesn't have wireless charging, which the H1s did. So that's kind of a downgrade. We'll talk more about that in the features, of course. Overall, the case, I personally prefer the H1s better. I like even the color, I like the texture. The size is slightly bigger than the H2s, but the case, I still prefer these. As for the earbuds themselves, these are the stem design types. And personally, I like them. They're kind of like AirPod Pro clones. They're pretty much the same size as well. They're silver. They have this Soundpeats logo kind of off-center in gold. And I think that looks pretty nice. It looks premium. And frankly, I think they look fine. If you compare them with the H1s, they have a completely different shape. Personally, I think the H1s looked really cool. They looked pretty different. But these aren't bad. I do prefer the H1s in look a little better. So overall, in the look and feel, I'm gonna give the H2s a 7 out of 10. But in the overall look and feel regarding the case and the earbuds, I kinda like the H1s better. So it's a 7 out of 10 for the H2s. As for the fit, these H2s fit really well. I really like the way they lodge into your ear and they're really comfortable. They don't feel like they're gonna fall out. Now, in previous videos, I have said that the H1s fit really well as well. But you know, I'm reconsidering that. It's been quite a few months since I've been using these, and these are pretty heavy relative to a lot of other earbuds. I think they fall out a little easier. So I prefer the H2s in the fit, definitely. And I think their fit is really solid. You could jog with these, you could be active and not have to worry too much. So I'm gonna give these an 8.5 out of 10 for the fit. And I prefer these over the H1s. As for passive noise cancelling, meaning acoustic isolation, the H2s are not bad. They're quite reasonable. They block out quite a bit of noise, and without active noise cancelling, which both of these don't have, it's not too bad. You can hear music and calls at a pretty low volume and still it isolates it good enough. The H1s, I always said, were really good at this. I think the H2s are just slightly below it. These are good in their own right, but for some reason, I don't know if it's the ear tip or the shape of it, these aren't exactly the same as the H1s in my experience. So I'm gonna give these for passive noise cancelling a 7.5 out of 10. And I think the H1s are slightly better in acoustic isolation. As for features, the H2s share a lot of the features of the H1, but there's some that the H2s don't have that the H1s do. For example, let me tell you the similarities first. Both have the QCC 3040 chip, which is by Qualcomm, which is always really good. They have Bluetooth 5.2. They have gain mode, they have a really good latency, and also they have hybrid drivers, both noise balanced and dynamic drivers, and aptics adaptive, which is all really good. But where the H2s miss out, which is kind of a shocker, is number one, these have been downgraded from IPX5 to IPX4 in the waterproofing rating. So that's kind of something odd. Also, these have less battery life, which I'll get into later as well. but that's something to note as well. And these don't have wireless charging, while these do. So for the features, I'm actually still going to give this an 8 out of 10 because it does have the Qualcomm chip. It does have a lot of good features, but it didn't get a 9 because it's actually a downgrade from the H1 in a bunch of things. So it's an 8 out of 10 for features. Now talking specifically about battery, as you heard, these have less battery than this. In fact, it has half the battery of the H1s, which is really weird. I don't think they should have done that. I don't know what the reason is, but again, these are a little cheaper. So now the H2s give you a battery life of about 5 hours from the earbuds themselves, and it gives you 3 top-ups, meaning 15 hours extra with the case. So that's a total of 20 hours, as opposed to this, which gave you 10 hours on the earbuds themselves, and you would get 30 hours from the case. So that's a huge difference. If that matters to you, I'm sure this is a big point. So for the battery, I'm gonna give the H2s a 7 out of 10 for not being too bad, because on their own, a 20-hour battery and a 5-hour on the earbud isn't too bad, but honestly, it could have gotten a bit more if it matched up or came at least close to the H1s. Guys, if you're liking this video so far, think about hitting a like and leaving me a comment, and also follow me on Instagram. Now let's talk about the mic quality, which is really important for a lot of people, including me. Now the H1's mic was quite underwhelming. I never liked it too much, but the H2's, let's check out how this sounds. So let's first listen to a test. This is the microphone test for the Soundpeats H2. Right now I'm talking in a pretty quiet room. Now I'm going to turn on ambient noise. This is the microphone test for the Soundpeats H2 with background simulated noise on. It's quite loud. They're coming from my computer speakers. It's an ambient restaurant noise. How is my voice sounding? Is it clear? Can you hear me properly? Do let me know in the comments below. This is the microphone test for the Soundpeats H1. Right now I'm sitting in a quite quiet room, and I'm going to turn on simulated noise now. This is the microphone test for the Soundpeats H2. At the moment, I have a restaurant ambient background noise on coming from my computer speakers, and it's quite loud. Okay, so we heard the test, and I'm pretty excited. I think the H2's mic is quite better than the H1's, and that was one of my major, most important gripes with the H1's. I didn't like the mic quality, because when you're listening to something and suddenly a call comes, you want the mic to be good enough to talk to people, and this kind of disappointed. So this, I think it was really good. In a quiet room, it was quite good. Even with background noise, the clarity was there. And most of all, I noticed the levels on this are much higher than the H1's, which is a really major point. Just the volume, the other person won't have to hire it to listen to you. So these get an 8 out of 10 for the mic, and they definitely beat the H1's when it comes to the mic call quality. Now let's talk about latency. So let's first see a test. Okay, so we saw the test, and frankly, I think these are identical in low latency. They're both about under 100 milliseconds, which is really good, and I've always liked that about the H1s, and I'm so glad that these carry that forward. Also, they have a gaming mode, and in gaming mode they claim it goes down to 60 milliseconds, but I don't think it really matches that. But having said that, these are good. The gaming mode works as well, and even without gaming mode, these will not give you a problem in any latency issue or any video watching, anything that requires something syncing. So I would give these a 9 out of 10 in latency, which is a really good score because these are one of the best earbuds I've tried when it comes to low latency. Now, the moment of truth. Let's talk about the sound quality. Now, these both have a hybrid dual driver system. They both have a dynamic driver and a nose balanced armature driver for the highs. The dynamic driver takes care of the lows. So what do I think of these? Now I listened to them extensively together, compared them. I even tried one earbud on one and the other on the other ear. And what I found was that these are both really good. Of course, I love the H1s anyways. The good news is that the H2s are also really good in sound quality. And that was what I wanted to hear. That was the most important thing to me. So they aren't identical. I would say that the H1s are slightly more punchy in the bass, a bit. And these are overall a little more balanced. I love the sound stage. It's nice and wide. The instrument separation is great. The clarity is wonderful. Overall, I find better balance in the H2s. And that clarity really makes a big difference. So I love these. I actually really like the sound quality on the H2s, and I'm giving it a 9 out of 10. This is also one of my favorites when it comes to sound quality. And remember the price these two come at. At this price, these are one of the best earbuds you can buy. So for the sound quality, I'm giving this a 9 out of 10. And I personally might even prefer this slightly over the H2s, which is saying a lot because I raved about these sound quality at this price for quite a while, and people will be surprised to hear me say this. So I love the H2s when it comes to sound quality. Okay, so how did it do overall, and what's my decision when it comes to these two versus each other? Overall, this scored a 64 out of 80, which is a pretty good score, but that's not important. The real important part is, are these better than the H1s? Now, again, that's subjective. It really depends on what your priority is. For me, people will be surprised to know this or to hear this, considering how much I love these. I actually prefer the H2s. Yes, despite it having half the battery time, despite it not having wireless charging, despite it not having full waterproofing, at least an IPX5, this is an IPX4, but it's all a matter of priority. I needed really good sound quality with a really good mic. I didn't want to have to worry about the other person listening to me. That's my priority. And after that, I wanted a really good fit. Now, this is better in all three of those things over the H1s. So for me, it's a no-brainer. I should go with this because the battery time doesn't matter to me that much. Giving me 5 hours on the earbuds and an extra 15 on the case is good enough. I'm never gonna have to worry about it. That's plenty. I can keep topping it up in the case, and I'm not gonna use it for over 20 hours in a day, no matter what. So it's no problem. Secondly, the waterproofing, I'm not gonna submerge these. I'm gonna use this maximum in the rain and in a sweating situation when I'm jogging or exercising, and these are good. So again, not a deal breaker. Then wireless charging, sure, that might be a big deal for some people. I've never wireless charged these, to be honest. I always use a USB-C because I have one lying around. Whenever I'm sitting, I just have to plug it in. I won't feel like I'm missing out on wireless charging. So all three of the things that matter to me are better on the H2s, and the things that are not in the H2s and are in the H1s don't matter to me as much. Plus, in my country, these are slightly cheaper, although that's not a big deal for me. Even if they were equal in price, I would still choose these. And especially if you manage to get this at a discount, like $55, $60, they are awesome. They're almost unbeatable. I don't even miss the ANC. I know ANC is a great thing to have, but their passive is good enough. So I love these. I recommend them. You should go for the H2s if you're like me. If you want a slightly punchier bass and more battery time with wireless charging, go for the H1s. So that was my video for today. I hope you liked it. If you did, definitely hit a like and think about leaving a comment and also subscribing perhaps. Until our next video, take care. Bye.